This episode of Digital Photography Cafe is brought to you by Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool for your camera, and by Daisy Grip, for a child's smile for a photographer's camera.
Welcome to the Digital Photography Cafe. I'm Trevor Current, your digital marketing guy.
And I'm Joseph Christina, your professional photographer.
So grab a latte, pull up a chair, and join us as we chat about the art and business of photography.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Last week we spoke about the importance of client feedback and the benefit of asking not only how they found you, but why they chose you over the competitor. If you haven't listened to last week's show, I encourage you to do so. You can find it at our website, digitalphotographycafe.com, in iTunes, listen with the popular Stitcher and TuneIn radio apps, and now watch on your HD TV through TiVo.
So Joe, we are back, episode 73. And did you say TiVo?
I said TiVo. I
know, that's big news, man.
Yep, it finally happened, and we are on there. You can actually find us there and see the little icon. And so we got 20
videos. This one, when it hits, will be 21. So
that's exciting.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah. So now anybody that has a TiVo box, you can just go right in there. You can go to the web video section, and you can either search for photography. You'll find us there. You can click on the technology button. You'll find us there. The shows are listed in alphabetical order, so we kind of show up towards the top.
Well, that's always good.
Yeah, that's good.
Nice.
You can also find us under the new shows. So yeah, we're in a bunch of different categories there, so you can definitely find us, and you can just click watch right on the screen. You can actually subscribe with the TiVo. That way the shows actually kind of come in, I guess, the way, similar to the way the DVR works. It actually gets delivered to you. So yeah, really cool, really exciting. We're looking forward to it. It's HD video that's going through the stream, so it should look great on your big TVs, and this is good stuff.
Yeah, very exciting. Now we can kind of sit back and watch the shows, but from the comfort of the couch, I guess.
That's right.
It's pretty cool.
I mean, you can do it kind of with Apple TV already, but now this just gives you another avenue, another way to do it.
Right, or through AirPlay or through whatever. But yeah, this is kind of neat because it's actually on an external device. So now we need Roku. We got Smart TV that's in the mix. That's going to be coming any week now. We're still waiting. So that app is being developed right now. So very cool stuff.
Yes. And then, of course, Photo Plus Expo 2012, New York City.
Can't wait.
Yes. A couple weeks away. We're like the beginning of October. This is October 24th to the 27th. We're going to be there the 25th through the 27th.
Right.
So this is good stuff. And, the interviews are getting lined up nicely, and prizes are coming together. So this is really exciting. And, a couple weeks ago, we kind of talked a little bit about the premium sponsorship packages that we were offering. And, last week we had mentioned that the information is up on the site. We definitely want you guys to go check it out. If you're a photographer looking to get your name out to the photography community, if you're if you run workshops or what have you, it's a great way to get some added exposure. Right. If any of our listeners work for a company that sells products or services to photographers, that's another great way to get your message out. So definitely check out the information. All the details are there. We have 3 different packages. They're all very, reasonably priced, and all the descriptions and samples and everything are right on the website, so you can check it all out. Anyone
or company or entity that wants to get out to tens of thousands of photographers, both amateur, pro-am, and pro, definitely give it a look-see. A lot of good stuff in there, and like you said, it's very affordable.
Yeah, and it's not limited just for people attending the show or exhibiting at the show. I mean, this really is the idea of being able to get your message out kind of to the people who would be watching the show, who are interested in the show, but without actually having to go to the show and paying the money for it.
Without the $5,000, $6,000 booth rental and electric and insurance and everything else that we know about. Yeah,
that's right. If anybody's ever looked into that, they know it's a pretty expensive proposition to go under. So, this is a great way to get some good exposure for a fraction of the price.
Right. Absolutely. Very cool. So this week, of course, it's been a very, very hot week when it comes to cameras. A lot of new cameras are dropping, right?
Yeah, we had a couple new ones last week too. So yeah, Canon's got a couple that came out. Pretty
we had the one that was really interesting to me was the EOS 6D. But you know, originally when we were looking at some of the Canon products, I noticed that the G15 came out at about $500, which, you know, if anyone follows that whole G line, G10, you know, that whole thing, I mean, it's a great camera. It does a lot of stuff that a pro would want it to do in a very, very small form factor. It's not really for me. I'm like the full frame guy, but when they get a G19, you know, out there that actually has a full frame sensor that is an ICL that you can actually change the lenses up on it, and it's that small form factor, I'm in feet, body.
Me
everything.
too. You know, the PowerShot line and this G series, they really are great cameras. They produce quality images. They have great manual features and stuff. But I'm kind of agree. I mean, if I'm going to go with a smaller format camera, I want something with interchangeable lenses, not just a not just a built-in zoom. You know, it's nice. It's a good camera, but it's not really for me.
Yeah, the one that really stood out, of course, like we said, was that Canon EOS 6D, and you know, Canon and these damn numbers. I mean, you don't. Is it? You know, it's right. It's always been like okay. So is the 7D better than the 5D, which is not? Is the 6D in between the 7D and the 5D? It's not really.
It's not.
It's just like they definitely have a hot mess when it comes to this whole numbering system. I'm sure someone over there has like some rhyme or reason to this, but I don't get it. Yeah. But the bottom line is this 6D is somewhere, I guess, in between. It is full frame, which is I'm a fan of. I will not buy any more crop sensor or anything unless it's a necessity on video or something. But yeah, full frame is nice, but what we noticed right off the bat is this price tag, right? $2,100.
Yeah, it's expensive, and that's for the body. You want a lens with it, you pay more. Yeah, and the thing is, it really is more of that consumer, prosumer model. Right. It's not really the quality of the 7D, the build quality of the 7D, let's say. Right. But it's certainly got a lot more features and capabilities than a Rebel or one of the older like 50Ds or something like that, or the 60D.
Yeah, because it does have partial magnesium body, and then it's partially this polycarbonate something, obviously plastic. It's got it's got different. It's hard and not. I don't know. I would say, it's like in between. It's like, I guess, in between a Rebel and a 7D, and then go throw a full frame sensor in it and give it 20 megapixels, but then reduce a bunch of other functions that I don't get. Yeah,
I know. I mean, 20 megapixels and a full frame is nice. It's
good.
That's really good. It uses the Digic 5+ processing. So it's not a 6, it's not a 5, it's just an enhanced processing, I guess. ISO, it's got high ISO, like, a lot of these other cameras do, 120 something thousand it goes up to.
Right.
So, that's pretty good. But then we have 11 focus points.
God.
Which, doesn't really make a lot of sense either. Now, the LCD on this thing, it's a 3-inch LCD, which is nice. But Canon started putting these, tilting monitors in the backs of these cameras so you can get them from different angles and stuff. Well, this doesn't have that.
No.
Which, again, doesn't make sense because that was the trend they were kind of going in.
Yeah, that kind of like, it's kind of strange. A couple other things that just doesn't make sense to me is, normally we're used to like a 1/8,000th of a second, max shutter speed. This has got like 1/4,000th. A 4,000th of a second. I mean, it's okay, but it doesn't make sense to me. Sync speed, really, really weird. I mean, I like sync speed. I mean, I like, Nikon kind of gets it right. They usually have a higher sync speed. They're, instead of 200, they're at 250 or higher. I want to see a 320 sync speed. I want to see something that's up there because, the bottom line is I hate having to fake it and you end up with these strobes that are just kind of, petering along, just kind of making these little strobe actions to try to, make it happen. You end up losing the power of the strobes. It's the bottom line. You probably cut the strobe power in half just by making it shoot at high sync speeds. But, to kind of compensate. You don't want that. I want a high. This thing has gone down to 1/180th. So it's a 180th of a second sync speed. It's like not even a 200th. I mean, where did they come up with this number?
Yeah.
180th of I don't get it. I don't understand it.
No, I don't either. And, as with all these new DSLRs too, I mean, they're all shooting 1080p HD video,
Sure.
I think this is 30p, it'll shoot it. And then you come in, then you think like, oh, wow, this camera could be good for shooting video, right?
Right.
So the audio input is actually a monaural audio input.
Yeah.
So you're not even getting a stereo input. I mean, the Rebel T2i, the T3s, I mean, they have stereo inputs.
Yeah, that's both mono in and mono out.
Yeah, I mean, why would they do that? That makes
I don't
no
get
sense
it either. So, and then you also have like a maximum capture speed of like 4.5 frames per second. Okay, so we know where it's sitting, where they're kind of marketing this 4 and 2. But $2,100, I just don't get it. Now, there's a couple of things that they put in here which really, might make up the difference to some folks.
Yeah.
We talked about last week, the week before, we talked about GPS. I was saying how GPS is going to be in all these cameras. And then we also talked about Wi-Fi. And why is Canon's Wi-Fi, $700 where you can get Wi-Fi elsewhere for 70,
Right.
And so what they've actually put into this camera is both GPS, they put in Wi-Fi, and they put in time-lapse stuff. And the most important thing, which I can't believe they did in like a prosumer or actually almost a consumer-based full-frame camera, which this is autofocus micro adjustments. So you can actually calibrate your lenses with this thing too. So, they put in a lot of good candy, but then they just it just feels random, like picked out stuff.
Yeah,
like
some
dropping
of the core
sync
features
speed
just aren't there. Some of the things that you would expect aren't there. It's almost like they had to make room for some of this other stuff. So it's like they just eliminated a few things. Now, with that said, this is a smaller, more compact body.
Right.
I'm, not actually having my hands on it, but I mean, I'm guessing it's somewhere between like a Rebel 7D type of body size.
Right.
It's a smaller, more compact body. It's lighter weight. There's plastic. Apparently, they have to use plastic in the top panel, that polycarbonate stuff, because of the radios that are built into it.
Right.
So I guess it can't penetrate. I guess it can't get a good signal through the magnesium. So they have to use plastic with that. So yeah, it is a more compact body. It's a little bit nicer to use, a little bit lighter weight, hanging around your neck. That's nice and all, but I don't know. I mean, the audio jack, I mean, what harm would it be to put a stereo jack in there as opposed to a monaural? It doesn't take up any additional space.
Takes up no space. Yeah, my major things are, the sync speed, the maximum shutter speed, and, I don't know. I'm just on the fence with this whole thing. I just don't, it's just like one of those things where they just seem to have just keep coming up with different, they're trying their best. I mean, okay, so we talked about also, and one of my statements from last week was, everything is going to be full frame, and this kind of plays off to that, because if this ends up being like their quote unquote entry, and they go and get rid of, eventually, the T2i, T3i, T4, 5, 6i, all the rest of this, get rid of that whole line, then all of a sudden we have moved into full frame being their base model, their consumer.
Yeah,
moving
for their consumer camera.
Yeah,
I don't know. At $2,100 though, I mean, you can buy a Rebel, base model for like $800.
Exactly.
So, I mean, this is a significant, this is more than double the price.
It reminds me of many muscle cars. They do this with Mustangs. And what it is they put all the like candy and then what they'll do is they'll take out certain things, and then what will end up happening is when it's all said and done, you pay for the motor. You pay for a 6-cylinder, an 8-cylinder, an 8-cylinder turbocharged, 8-cylinder supercharged, you know, whatever, and you're paying for that motor. So, I mean,
Right.
as far as I see this, you know, being at this price, maybe, you know, you're paying for obviously, you know, the GPS and Wi-Fi, but maybe you're paying a lot for that full frame sensor. That could
Right.
be.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if it was me, I probably would not go for this camera.
Yeah.
Just doesn't really make sense to me. Not financially. You know, and even with the lack of features, I just don't see it being the camera for me.
No, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But anyways, listen, before we go any further, let's go ahead and hear from one of our sponsors.
Have you ever tried to photograph a child who was on the move and wouldn't settle down? A child who just wouldn't give your camera the time of day no matter what tricks you tried? If so, we have some great news for you. Introducing the Daisy Grip, your go-to tool for capturing a child's smile.
Just think of the Daisy Grip as your third hand. Just place it into your camera's hot shoe, insert the child's favorite toy or puppet, and let the smiles begin. Imagine the storytelling magic that you'll have at your disposal with a ferocious lion or a friendly monster sitting on top of your camera. For the ultimate attention getter, place your smartphone into the Daisy Grip and play the child's favorite cartoon.
With the addition of a Daisy Grip bracket, you can free up your hot shoe for a flash or wireless transmitter.
Let Daisy Grip put the space above your lens to work for you. Make this indispensable tool your new best friend. Head over to daisygrip.com/DPC to get the listener discount.
The Daisy Grip, for a child's smile, for a photographer's camera.
So, all right, guys, we're back. So, you know, we're talking about going to PPE, which we absolutely love, Photo Plus Expo. And, you know, being in New York City, once again, we love New York City. There's so much going on. It's like a 24-hour city. There's always something to do. And many of our colleagues, right, are talking about doing these photo walks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's lots of things getting planned. Some, you know, organized things through PPE. And then also some, you know, photographers who are arranging their own photo walks. They're getting a bunch of people together, going to go around different parts of the city. It really is great. I mean, you've got just right where Javits is. It's right on the Hudson. So anybody that doesn't, you know New York and doesn't really know the location of the Javits. So the Javits Convention Center is actually on the Hudson River, you know, side. I mean,
Right.
it's like right by the water. You can throw a stone and hit the water with it.
Yeah,
right across
a
the
longer
street.
stone and you hit Jersey, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's that's right. That's right. So, and right next to it, sitting in the water, there is the Intrepid aircraft carrier, and now the space shuttle is actually sitting on there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We
which
were
is
actually
cool.
on the Intrepid a couple of years back.
Couple years
for,
ago,
for Photo Plus, right?
Yeah. They had
Party.
their bash on the Intrepid. It was really neat. We were actually in like one of the big main decks. You know,
Yeah.
it was cool.
Yeah, it was very, very neat. Very neat. Yeah, so, you know, talking about the photo walks, I mean, I love a photo walk. I mean, I think they're great. And I was looking in, you know, we were kind of wandering through as we do every week, and we found an article from her name is Tiffany Joyce, and she's from Beyond Megapixels is the website. And, you know, she talks about how to kind of make a photo walk enjoyable. And, you know, some people, they go on photo walks and they go out there and they're just laden, you know, with stuff, or they have, you know, like a girl will go out with like heels on, or a guy will go out with like boots or whatnot. The bottom line is when you go on these photo walks, you know, she talks about like tips on how to remain, you know, comfortable, but then also just to enjoy yourself. And one of the things is, you know, wear comfortable things. You know, dress appropriate to the weather. You know, so, you know, if you're out there and you know it's going to be cold, well, wear a jacket. You know, if you're going to be walking around, obviously put on your favorite running shoes or something.
Right.
You know, this isn't like a fashion show, you know. You
Right.
wanna be
Well, and that's exactly right. I mean, you're coming up from Florida to New
Right.
York, and it's going to be cool in October. I mean,
Right.
so you need to, like, when you come up, you got to bring a jacket with you.
Yeah,
Because-
I'll get on the plane at like 90 degrees and I'll get off and it'll be like 50
Yeah,
or less.
Yeah, and at nighttime in New York, when that wind blows, especially right off the water there, it is chilly.
Yeah. So that, you know, the main thing is reduce the amount of stuff that you're bringing out on this walk. You know, you see too many people that are just packed with just stuff. I mean, you really, I really think a lot of stuff hinders creativity. Because, I mean, I've been on many photo walks. You see the one guy that decided that he had to bring like 18 lenses and he had to bring all
he's
these
got his whole
flashes.
big bag on his back.
You know, and he can't even bend over to get like a different perspective or something. You know, he's just packed, you know. So you really want to reduce the amount of junk that you have hanging around your belt or around your neck or whatnot.
I really do like that minimalist approach to street photography like that. You know, throw on, you know, your favorite lens, something that, you know, you really like, something that you know works well and you're comfortable with, and kind of go out with that. You know, bring a couple memory cards, stuff them in your pocket, you know, and bring, you know, a battery or two, you know, a small battery pack or something, put that in your pocket, you know, and just kind of go. Don't leave the other lenses home. You know, just go out with the one lens.
You know, I always recommend too is, you know, bring a lens that maybe you're not comfortable with.
Sure.
Bring a
it's
lens
a good way to challenge yourself.
Yeah, that kind of give you a little. I would, you know, if people, you know, really want to try something, instead of bringing something that has a zoom to it, just bring a straight 35 or straight 50 or straight 85 or something, and shoot everything like that. It definitely makes your mind think a little bit about what you're doing. One of the other things that you can do to kind of, you know, make your time out there a little bit easier. Instead of bringing a lot of cards, you bring one big card and maybe test yourself by, instead of shooting RAW, which I always recommend doing, shoot JPEG, but then bracket the shots. So you have, you know, maybe you have your zeroed out shot, and then you have maybe a negative a third or a negative a half and then a positive half, whatever. And do it that way. And then all of a sudden, you know, your card that normally holds, let's say 400 shots now holds like 1,200. You know, so it's an idea.
Well, and in the past too, shooting film, I mean, bracketing was the way you shot. You know, we weren't shooting RAW. I mean, our RAW was actually in, you know, in the darkroom if we were processing our own film. I mean, that's when we were tweaking and pulling and everything. I mean, now obviously we do it digitally, but yeah, I mean, shooting in JPEG, you know, definitely you can fit a lot more images in there.
Yeah, and you know, one of the most important things is your vantage point, and your vantage point really should vary for. I mean, if you're standing, so many, you know, the comedy here is you know, if you're standing looking, let's say you're in the city, you're standing and looking at something that you think is just absolutely amazing. Chances are, you know, every other person near you thinks that thing is absolutely amazing. Also, take yourself and turn yourself 180 degrees. Face the opposite way of where everyone else is facing, and then maybe drop to the ground or twist a little bit and take that shot from the exact opposite angle. That shot will sometimes be more memorable than the shot that everyone else has of the exact same thing, you know?
Sure, yeah. I mean, you know, in New York, everybody takes a shot at the Statue of Liberty, you know, and you get down around Ellis Island there, and you're zoom out, and you're shooting away, and everybody's kind of shooting from the same part, you know, point, because that's all you can do. But you know, like if you can actually get out to Ellis Island, you know, you can get some great shots there, you know, shooting upward. You know, I mean, it's the vantage point, the angle, sometimes can make for, you know, a good photo to a great photo.
Yeah, a make or break a photo for sure. You know, and of course, you know, make sure you're aware of their surroundings, because you know, you're in New York, you don't know and that's
definitely
the idea.
Know your surroundings when you're in New York. Yeah,
you really need to kind of be careful, so to speak. You know, it depends on where you go. You know, street by street, it varies, and that's that minimalistic approach too. You know, if you go and take your camera, instead of taking your 5D Mark III with a battery pack on it, take the battery pack off, get rid of it. You don't need it. You don't need it. You know, it lightens up the load. You know, throw your little 50 on there, or maybe you go out with maybe like the X100 or one of the new, you know, X Pro 1s or something, and shoot with that. That's even smaller. You know, you want to kind of remain a little bit more incognito and not like, you know, I'm the photographer. I have, you know, $6,000 worth of gear with me.
Yeah.
You know, here's my big white torpedo 70 to 200, you know, IS 2.8 and steal this because it's $2,500. You know, you kind of want to make sure you're aware of your surroundings and know what you should bring into these surroundings, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you know what? And it's not even just, you know, carrying the gear and standing out to potentially get mugged.
Right.
But it's also drawing attention to yourself by security, by police, things like that. Because, you know, we know, I mean, there's, you know, stories all over the place about photographers' rights and, you know, shooting out on the street, what is fair game and what is not. And,
right.
you know, everybody has different viewpoints. And, you know, many times the photographer is right, but the security guard making $7 an hour may not know all these rules and could be really tough to deal with. So,
they could be an ass, basically. Yeah, they can definitely be an ass.
Yeah.
So, you know, one of the places that you could go to kind of see what your rights are, you can go to the ACLU.org has a location on their site that actually kind of gives you a list of, you know, it's actually titled, what is it? Know Your Rights for Photographers. And if you go there, we'll actually put a link.
Yeah, we'll have a link
in the show notes. And if you go there, you kind of see what you can do, what you can't do. And some of these things you might not even know that is completely within your rights. And your mind tells you, oh, God, there's no way that I can do that. And it's like, oh, no, you can. Just you need to know what you can do and what you can't do. And then the other side of that, the other coin of that is just because you know you can do it, that doesn't mean that you should do it. So kind of be careful.
Yeah, there's a time and place for everything. If you're trying to take a shot, even though you legally may be able to make it, if it's not an appropriate time and place, just don't do it. I mean, why draw attention to yourself? Why cause problems? Just, you know, you want to keep your head down, keep a low profile, you know, and kind of just blend and blend into the surroundings and kind of, you know, let the magic happen from that.
Right. You don't want the magic to happen to you with a billy club, right?
Yeah, that's right. You don't want any of that New York magic.
No, you don't want none of that magic. That's for sure. But, you know, this kind of, you know, I think about this and, you know, I mean, so often we as photographers, we're shooting like 20% of the time and we're either editing or we're doing bookkeeping or some type of managing of the business or advertising or something, the other 80%. So, you know, our creativity gets stifled on a daily basis. I mean, we are barely shooting, especially as a pro. And, you know, to get out of these, you know, the confines of the four walls of your studio is always a good thing. And, you know, I would suggest if you can't go on this photo walk, go on your own photo walk. Sometimes just to simply leave the studio, leave your home, you know, and go with no one but yourself, but use those same, you know, follow the same techniques, go minimalistic, you know, with everything. And just go out there and do a walk for an hour or two. When you come back, chances are your creativity has kind of, I would say, elevated a little bit because now you're looking at things different. Yeah. You're just out of that norm, that rut that we get into where you're just editing and playing with Twitter and all the rest of this stuff just to get out there. It really helps a lot.
Yeah, you know, back when you're a beginner and you're first learning and you're learning about photography, you're learning about your equipment, you're out shooting all the time, wherever you can. And kind of as you move into more of that advanced level, you know, you're still shooting a lot. But, you know, I see that once people turn pro or, you know, the emerging pros, that they're really trying to make a business of it.
Right.
It becomes all about, you know, not as much about the shooting, but the marketing and trying to get new clients, trying to get new business, focusing on there. And then before you know it, the week has gone by. You've got weekend stuff to do. You've got your chores. You've got your errands. You've got all this other stuff to do. And then before you know it, you're not shooting for fun anymore. You're just shooting for work, and that creativity gets stifled.
Yeah, and your work suffers, with design. Right?
Yeah.
The work suffers.
Absolutely, it does. I mean, the same with design. I mean, I know a lot of photographers do design work as well. And when you don't get out and explore new things and find new influences, find new ideas, all your stuff starts looking the same. And that's really not good either. You need to evolve with the times. I mean, it's something to be said about creating a style and have your own style, whether it be for photography or design or what have you. But you want to know what else is out there. You want to follow and see what the trends are. See if you can utilize some of these elements within these trends to kind of set yourself apart as something different. You know, you don't need to jump on every trend, but being aware of what's going on out there is so important.
Yeah. All too often, you know, when I talk to pros, you know, as I do on a regular basis, they all say the same thing. I was more creative, you know, before I turned pro.
Yep.
And it's a fact. What happens is we become, I would say, it becomes kind of almost like a muscle. We do a certain thing and we do it the same way over and over and over. I know that this headshot's going to look great if I do this, that, and the other thing, and that's it. What happens is you just don't, you're not, your creativity kind of goes, on the wayside, and you don't experiment with lighting, you don't experiment with angles, you don't experiment with anything, because the bottom line is you got to turn a buck. You're making money now from your art. And, whenever you make money from art, it's definitely a hard thing to do. It's very hard to stay creative when you're trying to run a business at the same time, and I think, what, maybe a photo walk could be that creative pill that we all need to kind of get, back in, get our creative juices kind of flowing.
Yep, absolutely. Get a little rejuvenated and see some different things out there, and even if you're a portrait photographer or a wedding photographer, just getting out and doing some nature shots on a photo walk, you just need to loosen yourself up. You need to keep that creative flowing. You need the inspiration and to keep your love for photography going. So so it becomes a passion of yours and not just a job.
Right. Is when we become, and when what we do becomes mundane and we just do the same thing over and over, it definitely reflects the work.
Absolutely.
So definitely get out there and kind of maybe go on a photo walk for yourself. I think it'd be kind of fun. I know I'm going to be doing it when we go over to Vegas, but we're also going to be doing it right now, coming up in 2-3 weeks in New York City.
New York.
And
That's
God,
right.
I love New York City. I have some just amazing pictures that I just absolutely love that I shot with a lens baby. Back to that whole creativity thing. When you just need something different, you need to break away from something. I mean, go grab like a Holga, or go grab like a lens baby, or just something that will just kind of inspire you to do something different.
Absolutely.
But anyways, guys, let's go ahead and hear from one more of our sponsors.
Are you frustrated with slightly out of focus images when you know your autofocus spot was dead on? It's simply not your fault. From manufacturer to manufacturer, and even lens copy to lens copy, there are slight variances to the exact spot where light is being focused onto the sensor. Finally, there's a product that allows you to compensate for those variances and make sharper images immediately. Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool, is an absolute must for every photographer. If you want to make the sharpest images possible, then you need to take control over your camera's focusing system. With the Focus Pyramid, you can calibrate all of your lenses on your lunch break. The Focus Pyramid makes lens calibration quick and easy at an affordable price. So give your lenses a new lease on life and take your photography to the next level. Head over to focuspyramid.com/DPC and get an additional 10% off just for being a show listener.
All right, guys, we are back. One thing that we wanted to talk about here towards the end of the show, and, we kind of always like to mix the art and business. And, the business side, I think this week is going to have something to do with social media and Twitter. And Twitter did something pretty cool this week with their release, right?
Yeah, they released new Twitter profiles, which is kind of cool. They've updated the old kind of tired layouts that they've had since the very beginning, and they're kind of taking a little page from Facebook with cover photos. So yeah, this is really neat. So now what you can do is you can actually upload a header photo to your profile. So if you were to view it on the website, it would now be across the top of your tweets, like where your tweets are listed. It'll be across the top.
Right.
But more importantly, this cover photo actually shows up on mobile apps for iPhone, iPad, Android. All of those.
It's funny when you look at that that shot, it's almost the exact same size. It probably is of the new like iPhone 5, right? It's got that same type of 16:9 type of look to it.
Yeah. I mean, it really is good because now you can continue your branding in your tweets. Now, realistically, once somebody finds you on Twitter and they friend you, they follow you, odds that they'll go back to your Twitter page again are slim to none. But that's okay. Your big concern is about making an impression when people go to your page for the first time. You know, we send out tweets, we get retweeted, our Twitter handle is out there. And if somebody clicks on it and goes over to the profile, we want to make a good impression. Well, on the website, on Twitter's web interface, you had background photos for years where you could do some interesting things in the background. You could add some graphics, some logos, things like that. But on mobile devices, those backgrounds disappeared. Even if you go to the Twitter website through, let's say on the iPhone, the Safari browser, it just enlarges it and it cuts that background off.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's always kind of bothered me is, you always want to try to keep your presence to look the same, cross-platform, right? And a lot of these companies just make that difficult. And at least I see here, at least Twitter is kind of making it a little bit easier.
Yeah, exactly. Because now, even though you're not able to see that background photo on the mobile apps, at least you have that header photo.
Right.
So, definitely check out your settings page in your Twitter profile. You need to create an image that's 1200 pixels wide by 600 pixels high. But you need to plan this out. You need to design it. Again, this goes all back to the creativity thing. Right. So what it does is when that header photo loads into the top of your Twitter stream there, it actually dumps your profile photo dead center. Then below it, it has your username, and then it has your bio information kind of over top of it. And then Twitter automatically does like it tints back. It kind of does like a tinted
does like a gradation from bottom to top.
Right. So it makes the bottom a little darker, and then it leaves the top kind of, full color, kind of untouched. So let's say as a photographer, something you might want to think about doing is using one of your horizontal formatted photos or a photo that you can crop to that horizontal format. Make sure that it's just either a photo that is kind of, just a nice looking pattern type of photo, or if you have a main subject, you frame that subject so it's off to one side or the other so it doesn't get covered up by the profile or by the text.
Right.
You may also want to put a logo, let's say in the upper left corner. So that way you get a little bit more visibility for your company that way.
Right. Yeah, we're going to put a link in the show notes that will actually take you over to like some sample sites. Like Matt Lauer has his is already done. You got the Today Show. There's a bunch, Breaking News, @Breaking News you guys can go to. But there's a bunch of them. We'll keep that, we'll put that into the show notes. You go there and then at least you have a baseline of what it could look like, because like Trevor's saying here, you are going to really need to design this image and put things where they need to be so it doesn't just get overlapped by all the type. Right now, we're noticing that all the type is white. So what it's doing is that gradating, darkening of the bottom of your photo. But, who knows, maybe eventually they're going to change it so you can change it from white to other colors. But for now, you're going to want something darker as far as a photo so that white text pops up. And then also, to me, I really don't like this. I like it. I like it and I don't like it. I just, it's a mixed bag. I like that they're giving you all of this real estate to kind of play with, but I don't like that they're taking all of the content, the description, your description that you put in there, and then go and just overlay it on top of the picture. And if you have like a decent, a decently long description that says who you are or what you're like, for example, for us, what our show is, what we do, our website, our address, and all this stuff, all of a sudden it covers up like half of the damn picture. It's like,
it does.
It does. It's a great idea, but I think
moving in the right direction. But I think the execution, could be tweaked a little. Facebook, I'm not always a big fan of everything that Facebook does, but their timeline cover photos, and this is kind of along the same lines as what we're doing with Twitter here, they kind of did it a little bit better, I think. They give you that real estate for an image, and then they take your profile photo and they kind of pull it to the lower left, and they kind of do like a little bit of an overlap thing. Well, in design, me personally, I'm not really a big fan of centering the main subjects of your design within a background. I always like things off to one side, a little higher, a little lower, what have you, because it adds visual interest. It adds movement to the image. And with this, your profile photo is dead center at the top.
They centered Trevor. They centered everything.
They centered everything. I mean,
the
everything
copy is centered. The
it.
description is centered. Your name is centered. Your icon. I mean, everything is centered.
Right. So I think right now it's a matter of working within these limitations and making it look as good as you can. Maybe they'll have some options for changing it down the road. Maybe they'll get enough feedback, and they will. Go
maybe
in
they
and
listen to the show and they're like, "Oh my god, hate it." I mean, definitely when you design this picture, definitely do a PSD of it or a TIFF file of it with many layers, so you can go and move these things around later. Because right now, the way you have to design it is almost like a pyramid, you know, where you only have negative space that you can play with on the upper left, upper right, and then everything below it is kind of like all white text. So I don't know.
That's right. So we're going to be working on ours a little more for DP Cafe on there, and you know, eventually we'll have it up and it'll look good, hopefully.
Yeah. Keep playing with it, right?
For our own. That's it. What's that?
Well, that's our job, is to keep you guys abreast with you know, what's new, what's happening, what's kind of current. That's current. You want to go in there, and I mean, I would do it anyways, because it's just like the new, like you were saying with Facebook. You know, you have the ability to do it. Go do it. Go put a beautiful picture. Even if you do nothing more than just put one of your beautiful pictures. You're a photographer. Put a great landscape shot. Doesn't have to be in landscape, but in landscape format and horizontal shot in there, so that everyone can see some of the stuff. Maybe even you change it once a week. You know, you actually have a little place to do so. So it's kind of
Mix
cool.
things up.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, man. I think it is that time. So, you know, again, let's thank all of our listeners and encourage everybody to please subscribe to the show in iTunes. If, you know, we've got a lot of different ways you can listen to the show now. iTunes is still the #1 place that people are listening to us. So, you know, if you kind of listen on the web or maybe in some other places, definitely check out iTunes if you're using an Apple device.
Yeah, we're having a record month this month, aren't we?
We're crushing it, man. Yeah, we're doing
what
really
happened?
good. I don't know. I mean, our numbers just keep going up and up and up.
Yeah.
I mean, not even by a little, but by a lot, month after month. So this is really fantastic, and we owe it all to you guys. You guys are awesome. We appreciate you listening, and it's great. So, Joe, people want to learn more about you. How can they connect with you?
Well, of course, on Twitter. That's @JosephChristina, and that's Christina without an H.
Yes, and you can connect with me on Twitter. It's @TrevorCurrent.
Excellent, Trevor. Well, listen, great show as always. That's show 73. Can you believe it?
Getting up there, man.
Show 73 in the can. Wow. If you guys have any questions or topics that you'd like discussed on next week's show, send us a message through our website, digitalphotographycafe.com, or you can connect with us on our Twitter site, of course, is @dphotocafe. Once again, that's @dphotocafe. If you're listening on the go, fear not. Everything that we covered during this week's show can easily be found in our show notes or on our website. Once again, keep your questions and comments coming, and we'll talk to you next week.